From the Dominion Archives, File 9A of the Raltoon Campaign, recorded in the tongue of the vanquished. We thought it was the end of resistance. The Keth legions had burned across continents, their plasma blades cutting through fortresses and forests alike. The air itself shimmered from the heat of victory. Our banners stood over the broken plains, the ash of 1,000 rebellions beneath our boots. No signal flares, no transmissions, no heartbeat beyond the wind. Only silence. Clean, obedient silence. We found the human encampment at dusk. Torn shelters, rusted weapons, the remnants of a last stand already forgotten by the stars. They were small things, these humans, flesh too soft, eyes too weary. Yet even in death they had arranged their fallen in lines, faces toward the rising sun. Discipline, not despair. Our commanders dismissed it as ritual. We recorded it, catalogued it, and moved on. Then we saw her. She sat beside a broken transport, helmet off, blood drying on her cheek. Her armor was fractured, patched with melted plating and fabric. In her hands, a weapon that should not have existed. It was no plasma edge, no forge-born alloy. It was carved bone-white, curved and alive with ancient grooves. The rib of some predator, sanded smooth, bound in cord and will. Our captain approached, amused. "You survived the cleansing. Tell us, little soldier, why cling to that relic?" She looked up slowly, eyes reflecting firelight. "Because it remembers," she said. He laughed. We all did. Primitive, sentimental. A creature of dust holding superstition in her palm. The record shows our laughter lasted exactly 12 seconds. Then she stood. The sensors on our helms flickered. Heat signatures spiked around her, not plasma, not radiation, something older. Her blade shimmered, not with energy, but with intent. When she moved, it wasn't speed we failed to track. It was purpose. She struck once, twice, every motion deliberate, every sound final. The first to fall was the captain, his armor sliced open without melting. The cut was clean, molecular, impossible. Our squad opened fire. Beams crossed scorched air. She walked through them. The bone didn't burn. It sang. Later, when reinforcements arrived, there was nothing left but the wind and a trail of glassed earth leading toward the mountains. The bodies, our bodies, lay aligned beside the humans she'd buried earlier, face toward the dawn. Discipline, not rage. I have watched that footage 1,000 times. I have slowed it frame by frame. There is no fury in her stance, no joy in her killing, only memory. The analysts called it a tactical aberration, a survivor's luck. But I know what I saw. When she spoke before vanishing into the wasteland, the comm logs captured her final words. "You forge blades to conquer. We carve ours to remember." Those words outlived the battle, outlived the war. They sit now etched on the wall of our academy, though most recite them without understanding, because that was the last time any of us mistook silence for surrender. They brought her to the tribunal in chains of plasma light. Even restrained, the human walked upright, her gaze level, her breathing slow. The Keth guards flanked her like priests escorting a relic to judgment. I remember the air, the scent of ozone, the hum of containment fields, the sterile hush of victory. They laid her bone weapon on the dissection slab. We called it the relic, pale and curved, smooth as polished ivory. Its surface etched with patterns we mistook for decoration. When the plasma cutter touched it, the beams scattered, reflected as if the bone itself refused corruption. Technicians recalibrated the frequency. "Still nothing." One whispered it was alive. The general silenced him with a glare. "Ceremonial," the judges declared. "Primitive. Sentimental." They stripped her armor, noted every scar, every fracture healed without augment. Her heart rate never changed, not once. Even as they mapped her mind wave under interrogation, it remained steady. Waves like ocean swells, rhythmic, vast. A Keth general, robed in command silver, approached her. "This thing you cling to," he said, gesturing to the weapon. "A dead beast's tooth. A trophy of weakness." She smiled. Not defiance, not mockery. Something deeper. "Then you understand what hunts you." The words rippled through the hall, quiet at first, then spreading like a pulse. I felt it. All of us did, an unease older than war. That night, the containment field failed. Sensors caught static, flashes, white arcs through crimson fog. The footage was incomplete, fragmented by interference. One frame showed her eyes glowing with reflected plasma. Another caught her silhouette mid-motion, strikes so fast the frame blurred into a continuous arc of light. Bodies fell before her like wheat beneath the wind. When reinforcements arrived at dawn, they found the tribunal dome open to the sky. No alarms, no guards, only silence. The seats of judgment were empty, save for one. The High General's throne, now split clean through. Embedded in its center was the bone blade, untouched by soot or blood. It was not vengeance that moved her. Every analysis confirmed it. No excess casualties, no random destruction. Only those directly complicit in the trials were gone. The rest, servants, scribes, even the guards who surrendered, were found unconscious, unharmed. The internal logs ended with her voice, soft and steady. Balance restored. That phrase would echo through generations. The doctrine of proportional response, born not from victory, but restraint. I have studied the footage for decades. Her movements were not chaotic. They were measured, symmetrical. Each strike answered an injustice. Each silence followed mercy. She did not destroy the tribunal. She corrected it. Some among us called it a message. Others a warning. I call it something else. A mirror. For in her eyes we saw ourselves, stripped of conquest and pride, faced with the truth that strength without measure is savagery. In the end, we catalogued the event as a containment breach. We pretended to understand, but the archives still carry her words in untranslated Terran, burned into the data by unknown interference. You judge us by what we build. You should fear what we choose not to. And somewhere, beyond our reach, the predator's bone remembers. The first message arrived without encryption, without ceremony, without threat. It was voice alone, clear, unhurried, human. This is Captain Mara Ward of the Earth Directorate, it said. We answer in kind. No more, no less. The Dominion's War Council gathered to analyze it. 6 words. No coordinates, no code, no demands. The generals laughed, calling it an admission of weakness. Yet before the echoes faded, reports began to stream in. In the Ashen Rift, where the Keth had sterilized 3 colonies, orbital bombardments ceased mid-fire. Weapons powered down on their own. The ships returned to dock, under human control. Not hacked, not invaded, simply taken. Crew found their systems obeying new laws of physics that weren't there before. At Eura Prime, where our officers kept labor pens, the gates opened in perfect sequence. Not explosions, not brute force, just the locks unsealing one by one, as though convinced of mercy. The guards who tried to resist suffocated in their armor, air withdrawn only from their helmets. Their commander's final log remains archived. We cannot fight a species that knows our pulse. No human fleets were sighted, no orbital trails, no launch signatures, and yet every atrocity of the Dominion, every calculated cruelty, was answered with mirrored precision. Warlords vanished from their palaces, reappearing in the ruins they once ordered burned. Ammunition stores turned to dust at the moment of command. Worlds enslaved were liberated without the sound of engines. The analysts called it impossible. The priests called it divine. I called it justice. The Dominion demanded explanation, even as its hierarchy unraveled. Spies scoured the stars, hunting for fleets, carriers, factories. They found nothing. No shipyards, no mobilization. Only the calm repetition of that same transmission. Everywhere at once, on every channel, every wavelength, we answer in kind. Our historians struggled to classify it. Was it war? Retaliation? Philosophy? The definition collapsed under its own weight. The strikes were too precise, too personal. Each act of destruction mirrored an original sin. When the Keth raised the sanctuary on Lyran's moon, every commander who signed the order died in identical sequence. One heartbeat apart, no wounds visible. Their blood crystallized midstream, as though frozen by guilt itself. When a mining colony's children were conscripted, the recruitment drones turned on their masters, broadcasting the children's laughter over military frequencies. I reviewed the footage from a derelict fortress orbiting Nareth IV, where the Keth had held thousands of captives. The garrison walls still stand, perfectly intact. Inside, only the officers remain, alive, bound, mouths gagged with cloth marked restitution. The prisoners? Gone. Freed. Not one accounted for. It was not conquest. It was correction. Even our own officers began to defect. First the pragmatic, then the devout. They crossed into human-controlled space and were not executed, not imprisoned, but received. Fed. Questioned. Released. Some returned with words none of us had heard before. Mercy as deterrence. The Dominion Council grew desperate. They sent envoys pleading for rules of engagement. Humanity gave them doctrine. A single statement carved into the relay satellites that orbit our core worlds. For every act of cruelty, we remove cruelty. For every voice silenced, we speak once. For every life taken, we restore balance. No more, no less. That was the birth of what scholars now call the doctrine of response. It spread like contagion, not through conquest but imitation. Captains recalibrated their orders. Soldiers hesitated before firing. They began to weigh their actions, measuring each strike not by victory, but by consequence. Fear was replaced, not by obedience, but by awe. In time, the Dominion archives themselves changed. Entire databases were rewritten, not by command, but by conscience. Reports began to open with a single annotation. Proportion verified. When I spoke to one of our surviving admirals, once a man of flame and conquest, he said quietly, "We used to believe control was power. Now I see restraint is." I asked him if he feared the humans. He shook his head. "No, I fear what they remind us we could be." In the centuries since, that doctrine has become law across the border worlds. The humans never occupied them. They simply left behind systems, machines that enforce equilibrium. A weapon fires only if its target has drawn first blood. A warhead will not detonate if its coordinates exceed moral equivalence. Entire wars now end before they begin, and through it all, one message still circulates on every unshielded channel, drifting between stars like scripture. The same calm voice, forever unencrypted. We do not conquer. We correct. To the Keth, it was humiliation. To me, it was revelation. For the first time I understood that mercy, when wielded with precision, is not weakness. It is judgment refined. And in that reflection, we found fear, not of death, of worthiness. They called it Retribution Day. 600 Dominion war fleets, forged in vengeance, drawn from every stronghold, converged on Seoul. Plasma storms blazed across the void like sunrise through blood. The Keth High Command promised a swift campaign, one that would erase the shame of restraint, the sting of humiliation. Their banners burned brighter than suns. I was among them, stationed aboard the dreadnought Varkun's Promise. Our mission: breach the Terran perimeter, purge their memory from the stars. The officers spoke of glory. The soldiers whispered of ghosts. Every mind pulsed with fury, yet beneath it lay something colder: fear of silence. For none of us had forgotten what the humans had done with words alone. We jumped to the first system. No resistance. No orbital defenses. No heat signatures. Only wreckage. The remains of Keth ships drifted in slow spirals, their hulls carved open without heat, their crews suspended in zero-G like prayer offerings. Their eyes were open, their faces calm. Scans failed. Communications dropped. Every channel returned the same anomaly. Reflected transmissions, our own voices looping back seconds too late. It felt as though the stars were listening. The admirals pressed onward. Fleet after fleet entered the void beyond Seoul, crossing what our charts called the Black Corridor. It was a region of space empty even by stellar standards. No gravity wells, no dust, no noise. Just absence. Then came the message. Across every frequency, every band, even through encrypted channels. One voice, calm, human, undeniable. "Return home." It was Mara Ward. The same cadence, the same impossible serenity. No command, no threat, just that. "Return home." Some ships obeyed. Others tried to push through. That was when the stars turned against us. Sensors erupted with false readings. Dozens of phantom fleets, impossible gravitational fields, reflections of our own formations moving in perfect counter. Plasma volleys vanished into nothing, then reappeared behind us, striking our escorts. The fleet dissolved in confusion. Systems shut down one by one. Engines spun idle. Shields bled light into the vacuum. We watched the flagship Varkun's Wrath fire a full barrage into the void, then implode inward, as if devoured by its own shot. The commander's last words bled through the calm. "We're not at war with them. We're inside their judgment." No alarms sounded. No enemies appeared. Just silence, cold and absolute. One by one, our vessels powered down. We drifted, weightless, weaponless, voiceless. Hours later, navigation restored partially. We turned back toward home. There was nothing else to do. No one gave the order. It was as if our ships had decided themselves. When we returned, the Dominion homeworld glowed beneath its twin moons. Around it, suspended in perfect formation, were hundreds of human beacons. No fleets, no battleships. Just luminous structures the size of cathedrals, orbiting like sentinels. They emitted no heat, no radiation, only light. The admirals prepared countermeasures, but every system failed. Engines froze, reactors went cold. Even our artificial gravity faltered. Our fleets hung in place like children before an altar. Then she appeared. Mara Ward stood on the largest beacon, projected across the heavens. Her armor glimmered with scars that told entire wars. Her voice carried through vacuum, unfiltered. "You forged your blades to dominate," she said. "We carved ours to remember. Now remember what you've done." Her hand moved. Not a strike, not a signal. A gesture, almost tender. The light from the beacons intensified, washing over our ships. Weapons disarmed themselves. Warheads disengaged. The plasma within our blades cooled into glass. Systems shut down, not from destruction, but surrender. Every display flickered the same message in human script. Stand down. Learn. The Dominion world did not burn. No bombardment came. Instead, the light cascaded into the atmosphere, illuminating continents, oceans, cities. Every citizen looked up, bathed in gold, and saw the reflection of every act we had committed. The burned colonies, the enslaved, the ruins we called trophies. The light did not accuse. It remembered. Some screamed, some knelt, some wept. When the glow faded, Mara was gone. The beacons remained, orbiting like silent witnesses. Our fleets drifted home in silence. No orders, no songs. I remember walking through the halls of the ship as the last engines died. The metal felt cold, but not dead, just still, as if waiting for us to understand. We found messages engraved into our own hulls. Simple, deliberate etchings in Terran standard. Mercy is not surrender. The High Command dissolved within days. Officers resigned en masse. The word conqueror became a curse. And so the chroniclers recorded it, not as a defeat, but as revelation. The siege of quiet stars. No shots fired. No dead to bury. No victory parades. Only the understanding that war had ended. Not because humanity won, but because they chose not to destroy. That silence remains even now, centuries later. A silence that humbles every fleet that dares to raise its flag. For in that silence, the Dominion learned humility. The war was over, though few dared to say it. The stars themselves had gone quiet. Dominion fleets drifted powerless, not destroyed but disarmed, left to witness the echo of their own fury. The council convened in panic. Representatives from the surviving empires demanded vengeance, extinction, cleansing by fire. "They will rise again," one cried. "They must be erased." Humanity said nothing for 3 days. Their delegation sat still, faces unreadable as arguments filled the chamber like storm tides. Then the envoy from Earth rose. No armor, no medals, only the gray uniform of service. Her voice was calm, carrying across the marble expanse. "We end wars," she said. "Not species." The hall fell to whispers, then silence. Even the Keth chroniclers stopped recording for a moment. Our instinct told us we were witnessing something unnatural. "Mercy from a victor," the envoy continued, her tone neither cold nor kind. "You asked for extinction. We offer correction. The Dominion's worlds will be freed, its leaders judged, its people taught. The debt of blood will be measured not in death, but in duty." Disbelief rippled through the council. The Varan delegate demanded proof. "What of their armies? Their war engines? You would leave them breathing?" Humanity's representative turned slightly, eyes bright with something we could not name. "They will live," she said, "and in living, they will remember." Outside the chambers, fleets of human ships moved, not to conquer, but to rebuild. Moons shattered by plasma bombardments were fused back into orbit with planetary tethers. Oceans boiled by war were cooled and reseeded with life. Across former Dominion space, human drones drifted like silver petals, carrying medicine, food, clean water. They healed what they could not forgive. I watched from the Dominion capital as the first relief craft descended. Its hull bore no flags. Its engines emitted no sound. It landed in the ruins of the war citadel and unfolded not weapons, but hospitals. Children who had hidden from our own armies stepped forward, unafraid. They were fed by the hands of those we once called monsters. The commanders of the Old Dominion surrendered themselves, not to chains, but to accountability. Human envoys oversaw the trials, swift, public, and fair. No executions, no humiliation, only records. The verdicts carried a single phrase: "Remember what power costs." And so, for the first time in galactic history, an empire learned defeat without subjugation. We waited for occupation forces, but they never came. We waited for demands, but none arrived. Instead, humanity withdrew, leaving behind only their satellites, 1,000 white orbs that glowed softly over our skies, marking sites of mass graves, burned forests, and forgotten colonies. Not monuments to victory, but to restraint. Then Mara Ward vanished. No ship logs, no transmissions, no trace. Some said she returned to Earth. Others whispered she walked beyond the rim, seeking silence. All that remained was her weapon, the Predator's bone, sealed in an unmarked vault beneath the Council's floor. No inscription, no record of its resting place. We chroniclers searched for centuries, but the vault refused to reveal itself. Perhaps it was meant to be so. The humans had taught us that some memories must be carried, not displayed. In time, their philosophy found its name: the doctrine of the measured hand. It became scripture to us, an idea more enduring than empire. Power without cruelty, justice without hate, victory without annihilation. I have read the council transcripts 1,000 times. Each word carries weight heavier than any weapon we forged. The envoy's final line remains engraved upon the archive gates. "They could have burned us," she said. "Instead, they let us live with what we'd done." That mercy still burns, not as flame but as mirror. It shows us what we were, and what we might yet be. The museum stands in silence, orbiting a restored world that was once ash. Its walls are made of glass and starlight. Its halls filled with the echoes of lessons carved in restraint. The plaques do not celebrate conquest. They remember what mercy costs. I am old now. My hands tremble as I guide the cadets through the final exhibit, the Hall of Remembrance. Their uniforms bear both sigils, the winged seal of humanity and the coiled flame of the Dominion. Once those emblems faced each other across battlefields. Now they share the same shoulder. We stop before the central display. Beneath layers of transparent alloy lies the blade, white, curved, silent. The Predator's bone, untouched by time, unburnt by centuries. The lights of the chamber dim to reverent twilight. The cadets lean close, their breath fogging the glass. One asks the question they always ask: "Is it true this ended the war?" "No," I tell them softly. "It ended us." Their eyes widen, uncertain. I can see the weight of the past pressing against the innocence of youth. They have never known conquest, only peace enforced by memory. I envy them and pity them. You will be told, I continue, that humans brought peace through power. You are wrong. They brought it through restraint. A murmur ripples through the group. A young cadet, barely grown, raises his hand. If it brought peace, why was it never reforged? I smile, though it feels like grief, because it already served its purpose. They look to the relic again, as if expecting movement. I imagine what they see. Not a weapon, but a promise kept. Its edges still gleam faintly in the museum light, reflecting stars that have not yet been born. I tell them of Mara Ward, though history has turned her into myth. I tell them she did not vanish into glory, but into silence, the only battlefield where peace can endure. I tell them her final transmission still drifts through the dark between worlds, repeating the words she left to us all. We do not fight for victory. We fight so no one else must. The cadets fall quiet. Outside the glass dome, the constellations shimmer, calm, watchful, infinite. The stars no longer fear us. They remember us. I end the tour as I have for decades, voice low but steady. They could have ruled the galaxy, I say. Instead, they taught it to listen. When the hall empties, I linger. My reflection fades against the case, leaving only the relic beyond the glass, alone, eternal, patient. The hum of the station fades into silence, a silence alive with meaning. And as I close this final log, I write the only truth that remains. The blade remembers.